Okay. Comber is first. Look at that. I'm going to mute the sound on this because I don't want to hear myself in the stream. And I should probably also subscribe to my own podcast so I don't have to watch ads beforehand.
Imagine
We live?
subscribed to. Yes,
Yeah,
right.
we
Yeah,
are.
we did it.
I know. I haven't
I was
had
gonna
to
say.
be. I haven't had to be subscribed because I was the one running it. But now Haley is broadcasting everything and running everything from her end.
So hopefully
So
we won't have ass internet.
All right.
Yeah, come
So
on.
now I could just focus on other things rather than trying to divide my attentions. Hooray! But anyway, yeah, we have our new look now, guys. It is in, and there'll probably be some tweaks here and there along the way.
Yeah,
as
no,
we
I will most likely
work
be messing
everything out.
around with it to while we're on. Now that I have everybody here, so.
But yeah, so this is our new look. Bop, Ager. So yeah, it's looking really good. It looks great. Gerber did a fantastic job. We have a little bit of a Schoolhouse Rock vibe to it. Some of you will know what that is. Some of you have probably never heard of Schoolhouse Rock in your lives.
I'm just a bill
I'm
sitting
just a
here
on Capitol Hill.
That's exactly like when I talked to Gerber about this entire concept. That's exactly what I came to him with. Was I want I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill vibes. And
Well, he nailed it.
he absolutely nailed it.
He did, and we can and we'll figure out. Maybe we'll do kind of intro music that fits that vibe, or maybe we'll stick with the remix. We we shop. I don't know.
I like it though. I haven't seen it yet, and I just got done watching ads for my own podcast as well on twitch.tv/What in the World podcast.
Can you run the
but
music again, Haley, so Alex can hear it?
Oh yeah, for sure.
What music? We have music? We
Yeah,
have
our
new
intro,
music?
our new intro song.
Yeah.
But
We
for
don't
now,
have the-
whether we change it or not. Yeah, no, it's new. Is it gonna work? I'm have to share it through Zoom.
Viva la Dad.
Oh, does he not
Thanks,
have it?
combo.
Yeah, he's probably got it pulled up. I just run it however you want.
Oh, I just put it on OBS. So,
I can't hear it. Oh well, I turned off the fucking. There it goes.
Oh, I hear it now.
Oh well, I turned off the. There it goes.
Oh, I hear it now.
Oh well, I turned off the. There it goes.
Oh, I hear it
I
now.
hear
Oh, well,
so many things right now. Why am I hearing all that
There
right
it goes.
now?
Oh, I hear it.
Okay, Alex, turn it off.
Things right now. Why am I hearing? Oh my god.
Heard so much reverb on it.
How did you hear it? Oh, maybe.
If you turn, yeah, it was coming through the TV. Yeah.
Oh, it's coming through. Well, I approve. I enjoy it. What a nice little ditty that is.
Yeah.
Shout
the
out.
Remix. We shop.
How does everybody sound, guys, in chat?
Yeah, how's audio levels? We're gonna work out a few kinks real fast before we get into stuff.
Yeah, I'm just making sure everything is turned down.
My music.
Oh.
What are you talking about? Who's being a smartass? Should we hit him with the mic check? Check, check.
Oh wait, it's because I still have the song playing. I'm an idiot.
Oh my
you-
god.
Sorry.
Enjoy that. That's a sweet little ditty from us to you. All right. You enjoy that now.
You're welcome. I hope it follows you into your dreams.
Combo's gonna be having dreams tonight, dancing to that.
I forgot. I'm brand new to streaming. Period. So the fact I'm running the pod stream is,
You're doing great, sweetie.
all right.
I can tell you, I'm so proud.
Thank you.
So proud.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Turn my-
So while we work out kinks and stuff, but with this new overlay and stuff we have, the main topic of the night, and probably the only topic of the night, is gonna be back in 30 minutes to an hour. Okay, Jared, no worries. Is probably just gonna be the freaking war in Ukraine tonight.
Oh, like the war?
The war.
Like the war that's happening right now?
The
Do
war.
you know of the war?
Do you fuck with the
No.
war?
Do you fuck with the
Like
war?
the war that's writing human history, that war?
Yeah. So yeah, most everybody should be pretty sped up on it, I think, because it's has literally been the only thing in the news, and I've literally just had the news on all day today. Just kind of following what's going on. So
how much trouble would we get in with Twitch if I blared "We're not gonna take it" through my Bluetooth speaker here in maybe, I don't know, say 10 to 15 minutes?
I don't know. A lot of people play copyrighted music and don't get nothing bad happens. So
well, because here's the thing, I really don't care, even if like we're not making money on this thing. Even if they're like, oh, sorry, you don't get to make money on that episode, it's still worth it to me to play.
Yeah, Twitch is a little bit weird about it though. Twitch likes to, they'll give you 3 strikes, and then after your 3rd strike on DMCA stuff, they'd probably shut your channel down. So
okay, well, I'm willing to, if we get a strike, I'm willing to take one on this hill. So
all right, well, rest in peace, my name gone forever, not forgotten.
Literally just went. I don't know why.
Ben, before we talk about the war, we actually brought you here tonight to tell you we've made some decisions as a podcast.
Okay.
And,
Sick. One of the founding members is out. Tight.
Yeah, Haley and I, we had to make some real tough decisions.
I straight turned my video off too. What the hell?
Inflation's gonna be getting crazy here soon. We just don't know if we have the capital to fund your contract anymore.
Lord have mercy, what contract?
The MLB's locked out. We might be facing walkouts as a podcast union. You know, you never know.
Oh, we have a union now.
Yeah, and we will be bringing on a new member. His name is Combo. You might be familiar with him. So.
All right, cool. Unsubscribe.
Still don't understand why
kidding,
your name
just kidding. Ben's
away from me like that. That was rude.
But anyway,
Ben's
so
name is back. Okay, never mind, Ben. We decided to keep you.
Oh, nice. I'm so happy. So I guess just a little freaking recap in the 4 days that this war has been going on. Russia started this whole thing I guess it started a little bit longer than 2 weeks ago.
It started in 2014, really.
It definitely started in 20. Yeah, if you want to go really far back, it started in 2014 when they annexed Crimea, and that's because Ukraine, those ports right there. Actually, Ukraine imports and exports quite a lot out of those ports, and if you look at the statistics, Ukraine is actually number 1 exporter in a lot of the natural resources and things that they have in their country in the world. And
and in wheat and corn. I didn't know that. Admittedly, going into this, I knew like zero about Ukraine, and it shocked me to find out they're one of the largest producers of wheat and corn nationwide, which was like, I live in Nebraska. I thought we did pretty well, but like apparently Ukraine, they do a lot of wheat and corn. So.
They export a lot of things. So Russia wanted that, and they kind of annexed that under the guise of, well, all of these people over here in eastern Ukraine, most of them speak Russian, and they probably want to be Russian citizens, and we're just going to run it like that. Whereas I was looking today while I was watching the news, and I got all my news from Sky News today, that news network, which is, I feel, pretty unbiased. Then they, for the most part, actually all of what they've done today is just report on things happening. There hasn't been really any type of spin or anything on it, which I appreciated. But they had a graphic up at one point that showed, what, the language spoken in throughout Ukraine, and literally 90% of the country speaks Ukrainian, and just only a little bit of the eastern part of it speaks Russian. And most of the people that speak Russian over there are still like full-blooded Ukrainian citizens that don't want this happening. But anyways, so yeah, this basically all started back in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea, because they were like, basically they wanted these ports, and they're slowly kind of trying to get back a lot of the territory. This is my personal opinion. A lot of the territory they lost after the Cold War, when the Soviet Union fell, and all that land got divided up into these new Eastern European countries that we have. And they're also feeling very threatened along their eastern border with Europe. Well, a lot of those countries are NATO countries. So they're feeling very well, I wouldn't say they. Putin is feeling a lot of pressure on that side of the country because a lot of those countries are part of NATO, and NATO and Russia, we don't really get along with them because here we are. So, anyways, then 2 weeks ago, Putin starts amassing. Was it like about 100,000 plus troops along their border with Ukraine, and everybody's like, well, that's not very cool of you.
Can
That's
I
not
say
very
something
cash
about
money.
that
Yeah.
real quick? I was so wrong about this, and I hate that I was wrong about this because we're in the situation that we are in now. I say that from America. Like, I don't want to say like, oh, I'm in the same situation as Ukrainians are, because obviously I'm gonna go to bed tonight, not worry about a missile from a helicopter or an attack fighter like landing in my roof. So A, that's terrifying and it sucks. But B, when Putin started putting all those troops along the Ukrainian lines, I thought this is just another Putin kind of flexing, flashing his ass like, oh, Putin's doing it again. He's always up to something over there. But then to actually act on it, like, not only do I think I was wrong, but I feel like a lot of people were wrong about this.
The majority of the world was wrong. And Putin's original guise for this and saying he wanted to invade Ukraine was he wanted to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine, which is just, we'll touch on the demilitarized thing in a second, but the fact that he wanted to denazify and was calling out the fact that, or calling out and saying that Ukraine was full of neo-Nazis is just crazy, because it is a well-known fact that the president of Ukraine is of Jewish descent. His grandfather fought against the Nazis in World War II, and he lost a lot of family members during the Holocaust.
Isn't he Jewish?
Yeah. No, the president's Jewish. So to say that Ukraine is full of Nazis is just wrong.
Well, so I know why I follow a very pro-communist individual, a friend I would call him, on Twitter, and I'm not here to drag anybody, but if you were to ask those who truly believe that statement that Ukraine is run by neo-Nazis, what that stems from, and it's basically the people that took up arms in 2014 and further on are a sect of Ukraine that is of a Nazi regime, like a very much white power, like just think Nazi regime, not necessarily to the effect that they want to round up Jewish people and put them in concentration camps, but to that effect, they do share some Nazi ideologies.
Mm-hmm.
So when those people picked up arms and helped fight for Ukraine in all these years, that's where they will point to and say, well, Ukraine is run by neo-Nazis, which isn't true whatsoever. It'd be like if the Proud Boys picked up arms to help fight for America, and then you want to judge the whole country just because some maybe racist assholes help fight for the country. That's not exactly what the situation is. It's vastly blown out of proportion to say that Ukraine is run by a Nazi. That's just quite simply not true.
No, it's not true at all. And what happened after 2014 and Crimea getting annexed was that the president that Ukraine has now was voted into the presidency of Ukraine, and Russia's mad about that because it's not a pro-Russian government. It's a very anti-Russian government, very much leave us alone type government, like don't mess with us. So that's where this is all kind of sort of stemming from. Anyway, so under that guise, Putin started his invasion of Ukraine. What's interesting in this is the fact that the United States and a lot of Western powers were very wrong in how long it was going to take Russia to get anywhere in Ukraine. They thought it was going to be very quick, matter of days or weeks, that they just marched straight into Kyiv, the capital, and in place a new puppet government and just be done with it. And what Russia didn't do, which is what everybody thought they were going to do, was just pound Ukraine's air force and essentially ground their air force and take air superiority over Ukraine and then march in after, shelling and bombing the place for a couple of days. But they didn't do that. They didn't really do that. They started shelling and stuff. But they kind of just fumbled the bag. And I think part of the reason they fumbled the bag is because they did not expect as much fierce resistance from the Ukrainian citizens themselves as they're facing.
I'll tell you what Putin didn't expect is he didn't expect 80-year-old ladies to be putting out YouTube videos on how to make Molotov cocktails.
Well, and even the lady put out that video, and then the defense ministry of Ukraine also put out to the entire country. It's like, here's how you make Molotov cocktails. Go ahead and start stocking up on those.
Dude,
like,
how
could you
badass.
be in a it's so cool. But like, you imagine being a Russian soldier and you like kick open a door in like Kyiv or a village somewhere, and you just get smacked in the face with like 3 Molotov cocktails.
Well, and
like,
how badass is it that this 80-year-old lady is like, all right, gather around, y'all. Like, we're gonna make some Molotovs. We're gonna fight for Ukraine, and I've seen a thing or two. So, come on, y'all. We're gonna learn how to make Molotovs. Like, fucking, that's pretty rad. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah, it's very old. And speaking of old ladies, dude, did you guys see the video of the old lady? And there's been a couple other Ukrainians that walked up to Russian soldiers and were like berating them for being in their country, and then handed them sunflower seeds,
And
not
they,
the type that you eat, and these are like the sunflower seeds that you plant to grow sunflowers. Gave them to the soldiers, and were like, here, at least when you die on Ukrainian soil, you'll be able to nurture the ground
and grow sunflowers.
I was like,
that.
damn.
I loved that. I thought that was so
like,
cool.
This old lady just walked up, and the Russians like, please do not escalate the situation. She's like, escalate how, motherfucker? You're already in my country. You're here. You're a freaking invader. You're an oppressor. You're the enemy. We can't get any worse than what we're at right now. Also, put these in your pocket. So eventually, when you fucking die, at least some good will come of it. Like, damn.
When you die, we'll grow flowers. That's pretty fucking hard,
yeah,
dude.
like that's fucking
That's
hard.
fucking
That's
hard.
tough as fuck, dude.
Yeah, it's dope, man. Wade, who I think is here tonight. By the way, Wade, I'm not from Nebraska. Earlier, he said the guy from Nebraska doesn't know about corn. I'm not from Nebraska. I'm from Texas. Thank you very much.
Whatever.
You more than anybody should know that. But yes, I do live in Nebraska. And no, I did not know that Ukraine was a major source of corn throughout the nation, world. I did not know that. I lost my train of thought. Fuck on the corn. What were we talking about? Shit.
Old ladies giving Russian soldiers sunflower seeds.
Always. Oh, and the Ukrainian president, when they asked him, or they were trying to get him out of the.
It wasn't even an ask. The U.S. offered. They're like, we will get you out of the country, and the reason we're offering to get him out is because Russia put a freaking like $4 million hit on his head, and then like a subsequently like smaller amount on his family.
Yeah,
and he was like,
said, "I don't need a ride. I need ammunition."
Yeah, like, dude. President Vladimir Zelensky is a fucking badass. He's actually also the first head of state to pick up a weapon and defend his country since freaking George Washington. Like,
really?
what?
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's
he's
so
a
fucking
fucking
cool.
badass.
I remember what I was gonna say when I was talking to Wade. Wade texted me and said he saw somebody say, "I've never felt more patriotic for a country that's not my own than I do right now."
True,
Like-
and also like in that same vein, I feel like the American public can take a good look and a good lesson from the Ukrainian people about patriotism and about what it means to freaking fight for your country. Because the Ukraine said, all right, any male that's like 18 to 60 years old, you can't leave. You're basically conscripted. And every one of those dudes was just like, all right, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
And then so everybody else that's leaving the country mainly is just elderly people, women, and children. But even some of the women are still saying, I've been watching interviews of them talking to people in Ukraine in the streets as the government is literally handing them AK-47s. And this one lady was like, yeah, I don't have any idea about war, but this is my country and I'm young and a healthy individual and this is bullshit, so I'm going to stay and fight. And I was like, you go. Like, freaking more power to you. Like,
I can shoot a gun.
Yeah, there's these dudes that like IT guys that are like, yeah, I am a computer nerd. I don't know the first thing about war, but this is my home and I don't want this. And I'm fucking staying.
That's crazy.
It's dope.
17% of the people remaining to fight are women.
That's tough. That's hard as fuck.
Says. Yeah, that's fucking dope. I'm telling you, man, I hate that we're here. I really do hate that there's a war going on and that people are losing their lives and humanity has to go to bed worrying about, like I said, a missile flying in the side of their house or whatever. But the fact that we are here and the fact that so many people, like, it's basically the world versus Russia right now in the sense of like their outlook and like opinion on things. Minus China, probably.
Well, so China came out publicly and stated that Russia needs to recognize Ukraine's sovereignty and quit. Now, what freaking Winnie the Pooh told Putin behind, closed doors and on private phone calls is another story. But it's basically the world v. Russia, China, North Korea, Venezuela. Actually, been talking about this a lot in Slumps, who I was hoping he'd be on tonight, but he's not. But we've been talking about a lot in his Discord. Venezuela is supporting Russia, obviously, because they're communist. But yeah, it's pretty much like those countries v. the rest of the world.
Yeah, and I what you said earlier about I hope Americans kind of open their eyes a little bit to like the fact that it's been so good for so long. That doesn't mean we can't fall right back into World War II type times. Like it could, if Putin pushes and makes a decision to go into Poland and violate Article 5 of the NATO agreement, which basically means you go into Poland and you start causing a war in Poland, it's basically just like coming straight into America and starting a war.
Yeah, it's the thing. The Article 5 of that NATO treaty reads, if you fight one of us, you fight all of us, basically. An attack against one of us is an attack against all of us.
So you bomb a city in Poland, that's just like bombing a city in America as far as an active war goes. And then we will literally be in the next World War III.
Right. And what's even crazier, and this kind of shows you, I don't like where Putin's mind is, I think a little bit, is like he pushed into a for all intents and purposes, a fucking peaceful. It's a peaceful country, an innocent populace that wasn't doing anything but minding their own business. He's the aggressor here, and the rest of the world, NATO, just threw up a lot of sanctions to stop the flow of money, which is going to take time and to do all this other stuff. And he like that meme. He took that personally, and now he's told his heads of state and his high-ranking military people to get place nuclear armaments and deterrence on high alert. And I saw something while he was talking today that he said that these criminal sanctions, and I was like, dog, you don't get to say criminal sanctions when you're literally invading an innocent country for no reason. So you're pissed off enough that you're getting your nukes on high alert. Like, calm down. And actually, I think today he fired oh God, what was it? I have to go back and look. It was a very high-ranking official in the Russian government. It was like a foreign minister or something like that.
He's doing that because he's getting his ass kicked.
Well, yeah. So he fired that guy because, like, when he told all those people to put the nukes on high alert, everybody kind of looked uncomfortable. They were like, "You really want to do this?
What do you mean?" Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that guy, and I don't know too much about it, but that guy might have said something, and he was like, "You're fired." And for that guy, him being fired means he's going to disappear very quietly and be never heard from again.
Yeah. Well, and even if, okay, so let's play out the scenario where Putin does decide to let a nuke fly, right? So he would choose a NATO country.
I don't even think it'd be that far. I think what he'll do,
You think he would nuke Ukraine?
he would use, so there's different levels of nukes. He would use would it be called a tactical nuke, so it doesn't have as large of a payload as like a nuke that you would send to London or Washington or anything like that. It's a battlefield nuke basically.
So wouldn't that still violate wartime agreements that we have with them, to where we
Yes.
could justify like actually getting boots on the ground type involved?
Yeah, pretty much. If he uses any type of nuclear weapon, then yeah, I feel like that would violate some type of agreement somewhere.
Exactly.
So he's using it either as a distraction and possibly trying to use it as a deterrent, but maybe more so. And this is what Sky News was saying today. A lot of people were talking about it, using it more so as a distraction for the fact that he's getting his ass whooped by like
exactly.
a smaller army and citizens.
He's got his tail between his legs. He's backed in the corner with his ears perked up, showing his teeth. You know, because he didn't expect the people of Ukraine to put up this sort of fight. He didn't expect this level of pushback. He thought it was going to be a walk in the park. He's been planning this since 2014 because he was embarrassed back then. This was supposed to be his big return to power. Look at Russia. Look at how big we are. Look at how badass we are. And their fucking tanks are running out of diesel in the middle of the street.
Speaking of
And
that,
their army is basically rent-a-cops, to where they're like, we don't really know why we're here. We're just like performing these actions that we're told to do.
yeah, I saw
Like,
a
they
funny
don't-
video.
They fight with no heart. They're not going in there like pro Russia, you know, like Viva not Viva Russia. That's boring, but whatever. I don't know what in Russian. Go Russia, you know. They're just
Yeah.
there like, hey, we were told to be here. We don't even necessarily know if we want to be doing this, but here we are, you know, these are our orders.
Mhm.
And then you have Ukraine that's like, I will fucking die for this. Like, I
Yeah.
will stay. If I have the opportunity to go, I will stay and protect my land.
I saw
And you see that battle of fucking heart,
it's crazy.
and I gotta be here, and the heart is fucking winning right now, which is
Yeah.
mm,
I saw a video today which was very funny. It was this Ukrainian citizen dude just out driving his car, and is driving past these Russian tanks that are on the road that are out of gas, like out of diesel, and he pulls over. And I think this man has literally been stopping at every one of these on the road, and he pulls over, and he's like, "Are you guys broken down?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're out of gas, and we really don't have any idea like where we're going." And he was like, "Do you want to tow?" And he was like, "I'll tow you back to Russia." And like they all kind of laughed, and he was like, and like he was very politely in a polite way, so he didn't get shot. Basically, told them to like go fuck themselves, and like, haha, you're out of gas, and then drove down the road to the next tank to go do the same thing. Like it was hilarious. Squash said, in the same way you wouldn't throw tear gas upwind, you shouldn't nuke someone if the westerlies are blowing back to your country. Yeah, it's true. It's I hope that nukes do not get used, because that's going to be a slippery slope into a nuclear winter.
I don't think he will, but
I don't think. I
again,
hope he doesn't. Well, what they were saying that today too. They were like, "Oh, I don't think. We hope he doesn't do it." But we said 2 weeks ago, or whatever.
Exactly.
I don't think he's going to invade Ukraine, and then here we are 4 days into a war.
exactly.
Yeah. I'd take a minute and pay mad respects to the 13 border guards on Snake Island in Ukraine. Those dudes went out in the hardest way possible, and they will get theirs and whatever the afterlife has for them.
Dude, Russia is saying that they have them as prisoners of war, and
There's
they're
no
not
shot.
actually dead. That's what Russia's saying. I'm not
Well,
saying
Russia's
that's
saying
true
a
or
lot
not.
of things. Russia's also not disclosing how many troops they've lost, which is a decent amount, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, those
uh,
dudes, the Russian warship rolled up and they were like, "Hey, go ahead and surrender, or we'll fire on you." And I've seen the videos. The border guards were like, "Well, this is it." And the guy was like, told to his buddy, he was like, "Hey, should I tell them to go fuck themselves?" And the other dude was like, "Might as well, just in case." And then dude gets on the radio and goes, "Hey, Russian warship, go fuck yourself." And then after that, all the reports I've seen so far was that they then bombarded the island, and those 13 border guards gave their lives. Last thing I heard from President Zelensky in a press conference was that as far as he knows, they're dead, and he was going to give them one of the highest honors that they could receive from Ukraine militaristically. So
Gotcha. I saw that report and I was like, maybe there's hope, but
I kind of hope so. Speaking of hope and reports, this is still up in the air about whether it's true or not. And I really hope it is true. I saw some things that were starting to confirm that it is true. But the fucking ghost of Kiev, dude.
Or the ghost of Kiev.
What a fucking bamf. Dude said day one of the war, it was like, yo, give me my MiG and I'm out here. And the man's just, as reports have said so far, the first day he shot down 6 Russian aircraft, which to be an ace in any air force in your entire lifetime, you have to shoot down 5 planes. This man in one day went out and shot down 6 planes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And yeah. And everybody's kind of like,
because he moves so fast. Like in Braveheart, they call him, what do they call him? Oh, no, not Braveheart. The Patriot. Sorry, I always get those.
Oh, I haven't seen the Patriot.
Gibson. You haven't seen the Patriot? They call him like the Ghost or something like that.
The Wendigos?
He moves so fast that like he's here 1 minute and then the next minute you look over and it's like he's a ghost because he just moves so quick.
Yeah, it's crazy. So whether it's true or not, it's a really great story because it gave the people of Ukraine hope and something like figure to like rally behind and throw support behind as well, which I really hope it is true because that dude's a fucking badass. But yeah, there's some stuff coming out now that is confirming it. Some people were like, well, that if he shot down 6 planes in a day, that's really pushing like the armament and fuel capability of a MiG-29. And I was like, that's true. But also Russia didn't capture the airfield and they didn't capture the military airfield either. So man could have just gone back and refueled and come back out. Refuel, rearmed, and then back out. Zelensky confirmed Ghost of Kiev is real. Fuck yeah, let's go.
Oh really?
God.
I want a patch or a sticker that I can put somewhere. That dude's
Give me a shirt.
You know, a shirt, some shit, dude.
They were talking on the news about there are already shirts being made of I don't need a ride, I need ammunition. It's like, dude, I want that shirt. That's pretty dope. Was it I don't want to ride. I need fuel or ammunition.
I think he said I need ammo.
Yeah, I think he said ammo.
Okay, Abby, to answer your question, so for everyone that's uninformed, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but basically Russia is trying to, essentially it's Russia trying to gain back territory lost when the Soviet Union collapsed, because Ukraine used to be part of Russia back in after World War II till like the late 80s.
That was when the Soviet Union was a thing.
That's when the Soviet Union was a thing.
And Ukraine was part of Russia.
And Ukraine was part of Russia.
Then we had the Cold War, basically.
Yep.
Right. And then at the end of the Cold War, Ukraine became a sovereign nation.
Well,
so they split from Russia.
Yeah, well, so the Soviet Union collapsed. And then all that land that they took over as they marched forward during World War II got returned basically to those people. So like Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Bulgaria, Belarus, Ukraine, Poland,
well, in
oh fuck, how do you say that? Hergovin, I can't remember the name of that place. But anyway, all of those Eastern European countries got their countries back essentially.
Stop on Poland for a second too, because another thing we touched on earlier is Poland is now its own sovereign nation, right? Just like Ukraine is. The big difference between Ukraine and Poland is that Poland is part of the NATO.
Yeah, Poland joined NATO.
So what's the NATO? The NATO is basically a lot of allies nationwide, strong allies, that basically say if you mess with one country, you basically mess with all of our countries. So like England, the UK, like big countries that you don't want to mess with.
America, the UK, France, Germany, Poland.
Exactly.
So I think Georgia and Bulgaria, maybe, if I remember right, also, or at least Georgia and Bulgaria, at least trying to become part of NATO.
Correct.
But yeah.
And so why Ukraine and not necessarily Poland, because the case could be made for both, is that if you mess with Poland, you're messing on a much larger scale than just messing with that exact country.
Yeah. And we went for Ukraine because Ukraine's not part of NATO. Ukraine would like to become part of NATO, but they haven't, that process hadn't got finalized. They were getting ready to try and start to become part of NATO. So that's another reason why Putin specifically, not Russia, because the Russian people don't even want this war. That's why he's kind of doing this, is because he wants to put a puppet government, or at least absorb Ukraine back into Russia before they would go and join NATO, because then that would put Ukraine has the largest amount of land border against Russia as compared to like the rest of the Eastern European countries that are in NATO. So if Ukraine was to be part of NATO, that would add a very vast stretch of what Russia would see as hostile borders right on their borders, which would then could be turned into Russia feeling closed in and a lot of hostility along there. All right, so moving on to the rest of what Abby asked. So that's basically why it started. What do we need to worry about right now? We don't need to worry so much. There's a little bit of worry because Putin put his nuclear stuff on high alert. It doesn't mean he's going to do anything, but that is a slight cause for worry. We might also worry that if Kyiv and Ukraine were to fall, that Putin might then feel even more ambitious and try and throw more people towards the rest of Europe, and then that could start a world war. But nobody really knows what's going on inside of his head. Me personally, as a military person, am I worried? I can't speak for the military as a whole. I can only speak about myself. I am not worried about myself, and I going anywhere and deploying anywhere at this point in time, because, and I'll say why here in a little bit. Just, I guess, for America's involvement as a whole. The best the American public can do to help is not really much. This is bigger than us. We can mainly just, contact your senators and governors and like government officials and be like, yo, keep supporting Ukraine, which obviously we're going to do. Who should we be rooting for here? Not Russia. Literally just don't root for Russia.
Correct.
Russia's the bad guys.
And you'll see people that are very pro-communist kind of saying that, well, Putin's making some good points here.
He's made zero points.
You can make up your own mind. I'm not telling you what to think, because that's the whole goal of this podcast. You develop your own thoughts and opinions, and if you agree with me, great. If you disagree with me, we can talk about it. But I think we can all agree at this point in time, Putin has not made any good points for anyone to support Russia at this point in time.
No. Oh, Squash did point out that also Ukraine gave up all of its nukes as part of the deal to get into NATO, and then we denied their request to join it, which is really shitty. I think after this, if they were to petition to join NATO again, we would not hesitate to accept them. It would be a very shitty move on NATO's part to be like, nah.
Yeah, well, they gave up their nukes in a agreement that we would help protect them. Which doesn't mean boots on the ground, but that means aid, which is what we're giving them right now.
So let's talk about that right now. So what NATO, basically the NATO and the other countries, even in Europe that are not part of NATO as of yet, have given Ukraine is we've sent over a lot of financial aid, and I want to say we sent over Javelin missiles as well, anti-tank missiles. The UK sent over. I want to say they sent over some armor, or at least some javelins as well. Poland has given some support as far as munitions and stuff. Even some of the smaller European countries like Estonia and Latvia have given munitions and arms aid. Germany was dragging their feet a lot at the beginning of this because they did have some ties to Russia, but they finally got on board. Germany's initial help was just a joke, and this is what the mayor of Kyiv said. The mayor of Kyiv, who was a former heavyweight boxing champion, by the way, so he's already a badass. Germany originally sent one field hospital and 5,000 helmets, and the mayor of Kyiv was like, "This is a joke. What do you? No, we don't. We need more than this." Germany,
thanks,
like,
man.
He was like, "Thanks, but no thanks. This isn't cutting it." And finally, the other day, Germany sent over like 1,000 Javelin missiles. Yeah. So Germany's finally on board with the rest of NATO and is actually doing more. to help. So, yeah, that's pretty much all the help that they're getting from us and our allies. And right now, I saw it was a really good video the other day. The U.S.'s involvement right now is exactly what it needs to be.
Exactly.
We need to be a leader in this by being a follower of what our partner nations in NATO are doing.
Yeah.
For us to get into any more involvement as far as boots on the ground or anything else like that would be too much and would trigger, like, it would become a world war very fast. So what we've done so far, and this is all over the news, is we've given aid, we've given some munitions, and then what we've done per our NATO treaty alliance is we've bolstered troops in NATO nations. So in Poland, there's troops on the ground, and a couple other countries, and that is just solely for I don't want to say preventative reasons, but if Russia were to try and push somewhere else, then we have the backs of our NATO partners with troops on the ground there. But those troops are not going to Ukraine.
Well, and I want to answer Abby's question real quick. She says, what are Putin's points? So Putin's points are that Ukraine is a dangerous neo-Nazi-led nation, and that he has to go into Ukraine to stop these dangerous neo-Nazis.
It's some sort of like liberation thing for whatever pro-Russians are there, which is not many.
On day 2 of the invasion, he called on the Ukrainian people to overthrow their neo-Nazi governments. He was desperate, which is why he did that. But B, that's just such a fabrication of the truth. Like, you have a small percentage of the country that does have neo-Nazi beliefs. There's no doubting or arguing that. But to judge the entire country based on one little lunatic sect of the country, like, that's just insane. You can't judge an entire country based on a small percentage of the population when the president is Jewish. It's goofy, dude. It's so crazy.
It's goofy. And so they also, Abby, to answer your second question, they just want their land back. Essentially, they want their land back as well because Ukraine has a couple of big ports in the southeastern part of their country on the Black Sea that are big industrial ports for imports and exports. And if Russia were to have those ports, it would help bolster Russia's economy as well.
It would open a direct line from China to Russia for specifically lots of exports and imports, but specifically oil, crude oil. It would give China and Russia a direct, basically, line to send each other resources that are needed during a war.
Yeah, for sure. In a ship, it's the shorter route through shipping routes right there.
Yeah.
So, that's the long and the short of it there, Abby. I think we covered everything you asked.
That's a really good point. 9% of Americans say holding neo-Nazi or white supremacist views is acceptable in 2017.
And that was to your point. Like, you can't judge it. Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
You can't judge an entire country. 9% of America is racist. Well, not racist, but I would say openly racist.
I forget who I was talking to earlier. It would be like if someone attacked America and the Proud Boys picked up guns and went to fight for America. So now, because the Proud Boys are fighting for America, now all of Americans identify with the Proud Boys. No, that's crazy. Like, that's just silly. There are racists everywhere. There are stupid people in every nation. And to call Ukraine as a whole neo-Nazi because a certain percentage of their population identifies with neo-Nazi views, Putin, dude, he's unwell. There was a report this week that said he's so embarrassed with how it's going so far that he is, like, physically unwell, which makes me so happy to think that Putin is sitting in his high and mighty chair, just like stomach in knots, because they're not just completely dominating this shit so far.
So Abby asks, so by bombing them and whatnot, is his goal for them to give up? So when wars like this pop off, and Ukraine is not by any means a third world country, the idea of bombing things is there's usually strategy behind it. You bomb infrastructure, you bomb military facilities, you bomb like they just did actually, Russia last night, Ukrainian time. uh, missile struck a depot over there. So you try and bomb like those type of things to slow down your enemy, or in this case, Russia is trying to slow down Ukraine by hindering their infrastructure and demoralizing them. If you were in a town that was getting bombed constantly, you would be pretty demoralized, which is not the case for the Ukrainians because they are very patriotic people and they are going to stay there and fight tooth and nail till the very end. But that's the point. The point of bombing and artillery campaigns before a main force goes in is to soften up your adversary so that as your main force rolls in, it limits the amount of casualties that you take, which in Russia's case has not been working out super well because from all the numbers that have been coming out, and this is just from the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense, Russia obviously is keeping very hush-hush about what their casualties look like and that kind of stuff, but Russia's lost upwards of 5,000 troops so far. I want to say like 40 some odd total like aircraft, quite a bit of tanks and artillery because a lot of NATO nations gave the Ukrainians Javelin missiles, which are very effective against tank. That's their purpose. They're anti-tank shoulder launched missiles. And the Ukrainian people are just like fighting their asses off. I actually saw a video not too long ago as well. This is literally all I've been looking at the past 4 days. Is there was a column of like Russian military vehicles rolling through. So I don't know if it was through Kiev or now in Krakow. It's not Krakow. Squash. What's that other second? What's the name? Or Haley? What's the name of the Ukraine's second biggest city? Kharkov. Maybe it was through one of those or through another smaller town, but they were driving through and then all I watched was like 14 fucking Molotov cocktails fly out of like an apartment building and like smack this truck, and this truck is just like on fire because like it was just rolling through, and then there's like 10 to 14 fucking mollies coming out of the windows
out of
just
nowhere,
exploding all over this truck.
It looked like a pack of wild animals just coming out.
It was
of
just like
fucking
boom.
It's a rain of fire.
Yeah. And that kind of stuff. So Russia's actually taking pretty heavy losses. As far as casualties on the Ukrainian side, I think now from what Ukraine's Ministry of Defense said, there are 300 to 400 total casualties. And I don't know if that includes civilian casualties or not. I don't know if they're including that in there. But the total number of casualties that I think Ukraine has reported recently is close to 400. That's what I heard wild, today,
dude.
So you have 5,000 Russian troops as opposed to like 400 Ukrainian deaths. Like, dude, that's crazy.
That's like some 300 type shit.
Yeah,
like that's what it honestly is reminding me of right now. And
what's
300 to 400 is too many Ukrainians.
Yeah, no, for sure.
For that matter, any loss of life for a silly war is too many, Russian or Ukrainian. Let me just say that. But the fact that it is so lopsided right now from this group of fucking just stragglers that are just in the streets fighting it out is nuts. Like it's,
and what's even like crazier is that the airport to the north of Kyiv, Russia attempted to take over within the first day or two, and the Ukrainian armed forces actually pushed them out of it. And they had dropped, Russia had dropped freaking SVD in there, which is their airborne like special forces, onto this airport. It's like their international airport,
right?
Where
they ran like the blind pick to where they got them. They gave up the airport, but then as soon as they got in the airport, they fucking bombed it to shit.
Yeah, like they basically they got Russia out of the airport. The airport's still functional right now, basically. Yeah, and they didn't. So and to the southwest of Kyiv is a military airport, which they tried to get to and like probably threw some rockets and bombs at, but they didn't capture it either.
So that airport, what they did, just to recap real quick, because this is another like just fucking beautiful part of this story. Russian forces are pushing this airport, and this is very early on. This is like one of the first
days,
initial
like the first
operations. Day. And so the Ukrainians are like, okay, we'll give up the airport. You know, they surrender the airport. But what Russia didn't know is that they were purposely surrendering the airport because they had the airport surrounded, and then they bombed the fucking airport to shit. And they lost a lot of Russian troops and a lot of Russian like aircrafts and infantry, and then they went back in and took over the airport. It's like playing chess, not checkers, bro. Like,
Yeah.
dude, Putin, you did not send your best people to this fight because Ukrainians were ready. Like, okay, sorry guys, here's the airport, and then wah, never mind. Now we're gonna go back in and take over the airport again.
It's crazy. It's been crazy. It's been such a I don't want to say heartwarming, but it's heartwarming in the sense that like it's just the amount of like grit and determination and heart that the Ukrainian people have for fucking like defending their country.
I know. I've said it 100 times already. I'm not happy that it's happening, but if it has to happen, I'm happy with the way that it's playing out in Ukraine right now, because they're showing Putin that like you're not playing with no bitches, dude.
Yeah, this is not some little ass backwater country that you're just gonna roll through.
You want to meet in the street? Let's meet in the street, bro. Like, all right, what time?
Yeah, like it's crazy. Yeah, and like it's also inspiring to see all of like the public officials. Like the majority of Ukraine's like upper government is still in Kyiv. The governor, the mayors of the towns, like the mayor of Kyiv, the mayor of Kharkov, and all that, they didn't leave. They're out there hooking and jabbing in the streets with their people.
There's 2 professional boxers.
Yeah, one of them's the mayor of Kyiv, and the other one, I don't think the other one's like a mayor or anything, but he just like came back from the boxing circuit.
They're both worth over $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
So they're rich as fuck. But instead of saying, well, hey, let's just scoot town, and I mean, we got a lot of money, we can just disappear and live out the rest of our lives in peace. They're like, this is our territory, bro. Like this is my town. This is our country. Like money, fucking whatever. I'm here. Like,
yeah, they're just like, none of this matters. All the things, the material possessions I have don't matter. What matters is me defending my homeland so we can live in an actual free democratic country and live our lives how we want to.
I think a lot of people are feeling, I know I'm feeling like that primal instinct like kick in, you know what I mean, where it's like, these are my people, this is my family, which is something we've been missing so much in our American culture for the last 5 years, 10 years, whatever number you want to put on it, but for sure the last 5 years, where we've been looking so hard to identify things we disagree with, when at the end of the day, in our just being, we all truly want to be connected. We all want to be together. But when we focus so hard on things to disagree on, you lose sight of this bigger picture, that if tomorrow Russia came knocking, I would like to think that Americans would put up the exact same fight. I hope, I could pray that we would respond like Ukrainians are responding right now.
I feel like
gather around, y'all. We're making some Molotovs.
The majority of people that would that's an entirely different discussion. The amount of people, or the people that would rally around and defend the country like that, majority of them would be in the South and like the Midwest. Most everyone else, I don't know if they would do it or not. They might just hightail it and try and get out of there, but it'll be a fight either way. What I will guarantee you, though, is that not any government official anywhere will be out there doing what President Vladimir Zelensky is doing right now and fighting with his people. Ham would like to transition to the Ukrainian Twitter page, and I would love to see this because I love the Ukrainian Twitter page.
Same.
The only thing I worry about is my share screen. Let me see.
What you should be able to do is just click and drag the Google Chrome window on top of
you're 100%.
Zoom.
I didn't think about that. Okay. I'm gonna kind of minimize it just a little bit.
There we go. No, that's fine right there.
Okay, so
can you hide our names? Is that a possibility?
Oh, yeah, I can. Is that good?
Yeah, and then maybe just cut this. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Okay. So, this whole conversation kind of brought me back to thinking about what we talked about months ago now, and talking about like the Ukraine Twitter page, and I wonder if the cat's okay, and I can't pronounce his name. Oh no.
I'm sure he's fine.
I hope so. But yeah, so this here, Musk, Starlink service now active in Ukraine. And I still don't know who runs the Ukraine Twitter account, but I hope they're okay. But just thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah. So about that really fast. So think what you will about Elon Musk. And when I first saw that, I laughed because I thought Ukraine were like, cool, dude. Like, thanks. Like, really appreciate the help.
Let's see if I can
But in all actuality, that's actually really good for them. That like whether or not you like Elon Musk, it's good that he did that because that means that Russia will not be able to shut off internet in the Ukraine.
Yeah,
Really?
their comms
Is that
will
what that
stay
means?
active.
The comms
Yeah.
will stay active. They'll be able to run their military and stuff through the internet because they'll be running it through Elon's Starlink satellite stuff, which is apparently like super fast.
Well, and the average civilians will be able to communicate with each other as well. So, like
Yeah.
when they're mobilizing, when you see all those Molotov cocktails flying out of that apartment building, those people are on some sort of like social media. WhatsApp is very popular over there.
Mhm.
Oh my god, I remember WhatsApp.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
like WhatsApp is actually, I think I actually have it for stuff that I do. It's actually very secure.
Oh.
That's the thing, is it's very secure. It's very popular in those countries where like SMS text messages really aren't a thing.
They're not
So-
encrypted. You can't they're easily hackable, but WhatsApp is way more difficult. And the fact that Elon at least did this and
Oh, they even
sent
asked for
Starlink
it.
over there. Oh, I didn't know that, Metas. So Ukraine
I didn't know
official
that
appealed to Musk for help, and 3 hours later, Starlink was up. Well, that's good. So
Oh, yeah.
good on. Oh, there it is. So good on. Okay, that's good. I don't really have a problem with
And
Elon. So like,
I
it's
don't
good that
either.
he's responded to Ukraine and was like, yeah, here's some help. Here goes freaking Starlink satellites, and literally just called his company. Was like, yeah, move these jokers over to Ukraine and put them in orbit over Ukraine, which is
Right.
pretty awesome. So
I
that's
think
actually
that there's
big for
a
them.
case,
That they.
I think there's a case to be made that Musk is kind of a douchebag. I don't think anybody's going to argue that.
Well, yeah, I
but-
mean, I can be kind of a douchebag too. So like,
And me too. Like shit happens.
All of us can, yeah. But the fact that that project ain't cheap. It's
No,
not
hell
cheap
no.
to launch those satellites. Like, he's putting up a lot of money. He might not necessarily be making a donation, but it's not cheap to get that.
to move those satellites.
I'm
over,
sure.
Yeah.
Tag Russia and tell them what you think about them.
Yeah, so that's funny. Another really funny thing that's happened in social media. So this war is really crazy.
Oh yeah, we
because
can
it's
talk about
happening-
social media. And
It's happening like in real time, but it's also being covered by the news, and it's just like the most social media coverage on a like war like ever. Like I literally scroll through TikTok and it's like Ukraine, war, and then the algorithm goes like titties, and then it's back to like. And then it's back to like the war in Ukraine.
Beds
But,
for
like,
you page, everybody.
War and titties. That's all I care
Welcome
about.
to Mr. Fahey's world.
Yeah. So like, but yeah, it's just like
War,
Almost
war,
every other
war,
video-
Titties. War.
facts. Like every other video I see on TikTok though is what's going on over there.
Rent-free.
So it's like really crazy to get that firsthand look of people that are over there and what's going on from their point of view. But also where I was going with this is really funny is that people have been ratioing Russia's Twitter.
Dude, hard.
Dude, like Russia will literally
Hard.
What's Russia's even Twitter?
they will literally
right
put a
now?
tweet out and people would just post a picture of like one of them was like Kanye holding a sign that said ratio and it had more likes and retweets than the actual tweet.
Did you see that?
Shut
Did
up,
you see
Metters.
that?
Don't expose me. I expose myself, but yeah.
I thought you were telling me to shut up. I was like,
No.
I haven't even said anything. Did you see that one picture of Putin that was like, whatever you do, don't scroll in or don't zoom in. And when you zoom in, it's just a bunch of tiny little dick pics, and it's just Putin's face.
It's just
If
all
you guys
dicks.
haven't seen that, not that I want you to see a bunch of little, because obviously I zoomed in. That's how I know there were a bunch of tiny little dick pics. But I fucking thought that was hilarious, dude. I was like in my office at work on my phone, like, checking Twitter real quick. And I was like crying, laughing to myself, trying not to laugh loud because I didn't want people to be like, what's he fucking doing in there?
And then you have to tell them that you just saw a picture of a bunch of small
Well,
penises.
and then you can't tell any coworkers, like, hey, look at this picture. Like,
Yeah, 'cause
and
then
make
that's
sure
a-
you zoom in.
That's a
Look at
sexual
all the
harassment.
complaints.
Yeah.
That's
So-
not necessarily good workplace environment, like, builders. So
Oh.
I just had to keep it to myself. And I
Abby, I'm
thought it was
surprised you don't know what a
fucking funniest
ratio is
thing.
being a middle school teacher. So a ratio is when someone puts a tweet out and then somebody responds or replies to that tweet, and that reply gets more likes, retweets, and comments than the original post. That's what it means when your tweet gets ratioed.
Yeah.
I just found
So that's
something
what they've been doing
incredible.
that's what they've been doing to Russia's Twitters. Like anytime Russia's official Twitter account tweets anything, the rest of the world just ratios the tweet so that tweet doesn't get seen really, and everybody else's tweets underneath it gets seen more.
And when you get ratioed, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's
At
embarrassing.
least it should be.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, so that's what it means for the Twitter sphere. This is my neighbor, Russia. He's pain in my ass. every Eastern European country.
I saw that. I was like, oh, and that was under
That's
one of Russia's
hilarious.
tweets.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny.
Get ratio, bitch.
You get ratioed. So yeah, that's really funny. And kind of along the social media lines, this is moving, I guess, into like sanctions in the sports world of things. But UEFA, the European soccer,
UEFA. Yep.
yeah, UEFA, they pretty much banned Russia from playing soccer. They're
Oh.
like, no, you're not playing soccer. A bunch of countries, like national teams, are like, yeah, we're not playing against Russia.
Was it
The UK's Britain's fucking FA, their football association, was like, yeah, we're not playing Russia. Poland absolutely and Czechoslovakia absolutely refused to play Russia at all. I think Poland has a World Cup match a qualifying match coming up on March 24th with them. They were like, yeah, we're not playing that.
Wait,
Of
so
course.
did they
FIFA.
so if they don't play them, do they just disqualify themselves? Out of curiosity,
They-
if you know.
And yeah, so the World Cup, FIFA. So I was getting to that matter. So this is kind of wild. So FIFA is like the world's like governing body for soccer, and it took a bunch of other like smaller governing bodies, local governing bodies for soccer to do what they did for FIFA to finally step in and be like, okay, yeah, Russia, you can't play in the World Cup. Also, if you are going to play any games, home games are not allowed to be played in Russia at all. If you guys are going to play a home game, you need to find a neutral site to play it on. And even after that, other countries are like, yeah, we're still not going to play them.
the Champions League game is big because that's
Yeah.
that's a tough ticket to get if you're a hardcore football fan.
Football.
Football. I like to say it like that.
Football.
But yeah, so them moving the Champions League from St. Petersburg to Paris that's gonna hurt. Like everything that's happening right now, the world is just basically ganging up on Russia, like they should. Which it's a breath of fresh air to see everybody respond on a global scale and be like, "Hey, no, come on, we're adults here. Don't just go start killing Ukraine, Ian's. Like, what are we doing here?" But the Champions League game is big, and I'm pretty sure there was another like Formula One race or some Grand Prix race that was supposed to happen
Grand Prix
in Russia.
Formula One.
Yeah, and they've moved
Yeah.
that as well.
They're
So
basically
the whole
moving
world's
anything
saying,
that'll bring money to Russia out of Russia,
yeah,
in
high
conjunction with all of the heavy ass sanctions that are being placed on them right now. Like they've blocked Russia being able to like do transactions through SWIFT, which is like one of the big central banks for the world. They can't do that. There's been heavy sanctions placed even on Russia's upper elite that are very close to Putin, freezing their assets, not allowing them to do anything. The EU, actually today I was watching, the EU has declared Europe. It's in basically it's in its entirety a no-fly zone for any Russian plane, military, private, commercial, not allowed to fly into Europe. If they're already in Europe, they're not allowed to leave.
Yeah.
They are hitting Russia where it hurts in the pocketbook. Now, these are not going to be sanctions that happen overnight. It's going to take time for it to get there, but once all these like get into place and stuff, Russia's economy is going to collapse, and they're actually predicting a very large collapse come Monday when the markets open.
Yeah.
Like Russia, like the Russian people, and this is the big lie that one of the big lies that Putin's been putting out is that he has the support of the Russian people, which he does not. The Russian people do not want this war. They're getting arrested in mass in the streets of Moscow and St. Petersburg and stuff because they're out protesting that. And they don't, the Russian police aren't giving a shit. They're just grabbing whoever the fuck's out there. Like people are just getting arrested left and right for protesting this.
1,800 people in Moscow the other night.
In one day, they arrested 1,800 people.
One night, 1,800 people. And that's just
where do they put them?
The gulag. Like not trying to be funny. Like they go to gulags.
Yeah, they go.
Those did not go away at the end of the Cold War.
No, Russian prisons are not fun. And
they shipped them out to Siberia, and they are more than likely never heard from again.
Oh my
You're
God.
held on basically, and I don't know if it's all of the protesters. I mean, I don't have any factual evidence to suggest that that's exactly what they're doing with these protesters.
I have historical evidence.
But I was just gonna say, if that's what they were doing, it wouldn't necessarily surprise me. I just don't want to say like on the podcast, oh, they're being fucking killed or whatever. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with them, but
they arrested a reporter. It might have been actually a Sky News reporter got arrested the other day because he was out there just covering the protests, and they just bundled. The Russian police don't give a fuck. They just bundled people up and just threw them in the back of the police wagon. They had these big ass police trucks, and they threw him in there. And the guy's just telling him he's pressed the whole time. And eventually, the commander of that police detachment that was out there came over there and checked his stuff and was like kicked him out of the truck. But yeah, they don't give a fuck. They're just grabbing people in the streets and chucking them in these prison trucks. Yeah.
Welcome to communism, baby.
Yeah, like don't let them fool you.
in.
It's not like a democratic, like Putin got voted in because everybody loved him type thing.
Well, I knew
No.
that at least, but shit.
Yeah, this is the other big thing is Putin is risking his presidency on this. Like this continues to go south. Putin is not president anymore.
But would he not be
You want to talk about the gulag? KGB is gonna round his ass up and say you're done.
Which is also
And
like that's
what
scary in a
happens when
way
you're
too.
done,
Yeah,
you're
that's
done.
scary in a way too because it's not going to be some younger politician that steps up to become the president of Russia. It's going to be some other guy with that might, and we were talking about this in Michael Armstrong Slump's Discord. It more than likely would be some other older guy that's been around since like the Cold War on, who's going to step in, and then there's the possibility of him trying to flex his muscles and prove that he's like the next tough big Russian president, and here we go all over again.
Well, they're all KGB. Putin has been quoted by saying, "Once KGB, always KGB." So like that mentality, like that, like we'll just take you to the back alley and make you disappear type mentality.
Jesus.
That's what Russia rules with. I mean, that's what they've always ruled
It's a
with.
fear thing.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that's why I'm curious. Like, if this does keep on going south, like, would he actually be placed out of office, or like, because he's been in office forever.
Yeah, that'll be another interesting thing to keep tabs on and see what happens.
Yeah, and like
in regards to that about what's going to happen,
and like who his predecessor is. Like, is there a vice president in this? I don't know anything. Like
I don't know that much about it either.
So
yeah, he was the head of the KGB before coming to power.
I don't think I think the predecessor would be the highest power.
Well, it
in
would.
the
The predecessor is the one that came before him, so it'd be his successor.
Successor. Yeah.
Oh, successor.
Yeah. Thank you for correcting my
his,
terminology.
His predecessor was a prominent member of the KGB, though.
And Putin was the head of the KGB before coming to power.
So it'll
be another KGB guy that comes into power.
Successor.
Probably another nutcase. No.
More than likely,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Round
two.
KGB is literally like the mafia of Russia, but it's
like the legal mafia of Russia.
It's like owned by the country. Like it's like the CIA, but they are they're the mafia. Like, they will lie, cheat, steal, cut your throat. Doesn't matter. You fall out of line, you're done. You disappear.
Sounds like an old school like Italian gangster mob movie.
It's it's like it's
What it is,
basically what it is,
basically.
just in 2022, just a little bit more modernized and a little bit more subtle.
And it's ran by the country of Russia.
Yo, keep
Yeah,
getting super
and the government runs it, so it's crazy.
We keep getting super quiet, Gail.
I don't know. Y'all are
Oh,
y'all are hitting good marks on OBS. I don't know.
interesting. I don't know. It could be us just trailing off.
This is true.
Could be. Very well could be.
But yeah, do you guys have any like other questions you want us to talk about? I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, so this is gonna sound really bad. Not that I like exactly what's happening, but I like this kind of stuff. This like these happenings in the world and why they're happening interest me a lot. So I've paid attention a lot to what's been going on because it interests me. If I ever had some inkling to go back to school, which I don't, I would go back for political science because I enjoy this kind of thing. Like,
I think if
why people do things.
I think if Ukraine was getting slaughtered, I would be a lot more somber about this. I wouldn't have the same energy. I wouldn't even really have the desire to talk about it. I don't think that I would really even want to talk much about it or even seem like any part of this was happy, you know? And it sucks. Again, I think like Ben just said, it's not cool that this is happening. I hate that this is happening. But the response that the Ukrainians are giving, I think, is something that whether you're Asian or American or African or any part of the world can look at Ukraine right now and be like, damn, I hope that my country would have that sort of patriotism. You know, I mean, the response is just real cool.
I do have a question, actually. Now
This
that I
is
think
not
about
a bad thing, Squash. I'll get to it in a second.
What?
Squash sent me something. I'm going to read it. And
Oh.
it's an interesting thought.
Oh, I mean, either or goes first.
No, go ahead. You were talking first.
Okay. What am I seeing about Canada and Russia right now? Like Russians threatening to go on Canadian soil?
Well, they'd have to come through Alaska.
Well, yeah, no, but like, I don't know. I've been seeing weird things. I wish Combo was in here.
I haven't seen anything about that. I think one of the last things I heard is like maybe Canada had sent a soft force over.
Okay. I guess I'll have to look into it more.
And you guys can laugh all you want at like Canada and like their military because like they are a good joke, but Canadian special forces are no joke. Those dudes will fuck you up.
They're not that far removed from American forces.
No. And I wouldn't say that like, so America always like, we have a lot of special forces units and people want to, you know, say that we're like the creme de la creme of special forces, which we are. I would not go that far. We have like the Navy SEALs are probably top of the line on special forces, but the UK's SAS, those dudes are some hard motherfuckers.
Yeah,
like those dudes are elite. Canada's special forces are pretty fucking elite as well. Germany actually has some very tough dudes as special forces. Like those dudes don't fuck around either.
Which luckily they're all allies. So
yeah,
that's nice.
But yeah,
I think that I don't think we have anything to worry about as far as our allies go.
No. Squash sent me this thing. It's a I don't know if anybody remembers what like green text is or like, but it's this thing from Reddit. So it says it's a picture of Putin, and then I can't remember what the website was where you would type things out in this way, but it says, don't want Ukraine to join NATO. Them joining NATO would completely fuck up your geostrategic position. Absolutely can't have Ukraine in NATO. Try to use politics and diplomacy. Can't win against money and corrupt Ukrainian politics, which was what it was back before 2014. Ukraine was pretty corrupt. Start to lose grip on Ukraine in 2014. Relationship worsens completely after you grab that precious Crim, i.e., the Crimean Peninsula. NATO gets closer and closer to getting Ukraine in. So you play your last card. Invade Ukraine. This is the part that made me laugh. Use your units in the most retarded way possible. No air support. No supplies. Make your army laughing stock of the whole world. Lose tons of soldiers. Lose tons of equipments. No problem. That is army tradition anyway. Historically, Russia will freaking sacrifice units and supplies and stuff in order to not be like completely obliterated or defeated. Eventually retreat without achieving any objective. Ukraine now believes it can beat Russia on its own. Decides it doesn't even need NATO anymore. Proudly announces it will stay independent. Other NATO countries see what a laughingstock the Russian army is, lose any fear. NATO dissolves as no one fears Russia anymore and doesn't want mutt soldiers on its land. Crisis prevented. Putin is a fucking genius. Poltards can't understand. 69D chess. Like, it's funny, and I don't believe in any way that that's what Putin's plan is here.
No.
But it is kind of funny. I don't think NATO will dissolve.
No, NATO's not.
NATO's not going to dissolve. I think what will happen is after this, Ukraine will get its entry into NATO.
Another cool topic is that there are 15 to 20 former US/UK operatives on the ground in Ukraine. Have you seen that at all?
Metters did see that. I haven't personally seen anything about it. And also, if you asked anybody about it, they would be like, "Well, we can't confirm or deny anything about that."
No, it's confirmed.
If you ask like official channels.
Oh yeah, but there's I don't know if it's a website or something. You can go on and basically volunteer to help fight with Ukrainians.
Oh, so it's a mercenary contract.
Yeah, and they'll find a way to get you to Ukraine. And apparently there's already 15 to 20 former US/UK operatives on the ground. They're not active.
So they're not actually tied to it. They were just former soft guys that were like, you know what? I'm kind of bored and I like the fight that these guys are putting up, and it's time for a vacation.
Yep, Metters put it best. Private civilians on vacation.
Yeah, well, that's good for them for going to help out. I mean, that's kind of cool, and they can one of those dudes per like 50 some odd plus Ukrainian citizens is going to help immensely because they'll be able to give them some valuable training and tactics.
Apparently, they already have like a 200 body count. They've already killed like 200 Russian soldiers.
I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, speaking of, so in the same vein as the Ghost of Kiev, the fighter pilot, there's another guy, and this guy I don't think is anything like as in like something of like Kiev or anything, but apparently there's a Ukrainian soldier that's already racked up a 20 plus body count of Russians, and they just nicknamed him like the Reaper.
Sick, dude.
So dude is just
Killmonger.
like the Reaper. Yeah, the dude's basically just Reaper of Ukraine right now because he's just capped 20 Russian soldiers already.
Wow.
Yeah, what'd you say earlier? 4,000 Russian?
They're upwards, I think it's like 4,500 to 5,000 Russian troops are dead.
Yeah, which is just what they're reporting.
Yeah, and that's only coming out of the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense. Russia is obviously keeping very hush-hush about how much equipment and soldiers they've lost.
Well, yeah, because they're getting their asses kicked.
Yeah, and apparently Ukraine's also got quite a substantial number of POWs.
Yeah.
Like, they've already captured a shitload of Russian soldiers as well.
Ooh, should we talk about the Tinder shit?
Oh my god, this is the funniest fucking thing ever, dude.
That just popped in my head.
Yo, Russian soldiers are like literally invading Ukraine and are on Tinder trying to pick up Ukrainian women. And the Ukrainian women are like,
they're catfish.
Down with
like, it's not,
they're catfishing.
No.
They're literally,
yeah, it's not actual Ukrainian
real?
women. Yeah, they're not actually Ukrainian women. It's catfished women. Essentially, they're catfishing. Yes, they are catfishing Russian soldiers
and then capturing them and pumping them for information.
Not that just that, but also like showing their location and like they're stupid.
They rolled into a country where like
cops.
They were like, time to get some pussy, and they were like, just kidding. Also, actually, I was seeing these reports today too in Kiev. And this is just the one report I saw today, but Ukrainian like armed forces pulled these two guys over that were in a black SUV, and it's been allegedly stated that those guys were like Russian like operatives, like spies or whatever, trying to like map a way for the army to get into the city and like do spy shit, and they were just like, no, get out of your car. So like Ukrainian military's been picking up like a decent number of like these undercover like Russian dudes, and they're just like, you guys are bad at this.
The Tinder shit still cracks me up.
The Tinder
man.
shit is hilarious,
Well,
and I
again,
love that the Ukrainians were just like, time for catfish.
It just goes to show you that when you, again, put people who really don't have a cause that they're fighting for, they're just told to go somewhere and do these missions, versus a group of people who have a large cause and a big heart for what they're fighting for. Numbers are numbers, but at the end of the day, you can't judge a fight just based on numbers.
No, you can't. It's going to
takes-
turn into like a war of attrition for Russia because they're going to have to throw so much at this to get anywhere.
The old saying, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog, right?
Yeah. And
I mean,
apparently, as of right now, Russia's thrown like 2/3 of its force that was on the borders into Ukraine right now. And
Already?
they have only got as far as they've gotten. They still have 1/3 waiting outside, which is not a small number by any means. It's like another
Sure.
50,000 plus troops and shit ready to go in again. But they committed 2/3 of that force, and they really haven't gained much ground. Like,
well, and that's the estimate not only on just sheer numbers of people, but on ammunition, supplies. They're about 2/3 of the way committed into this fight, and they only got about a third left in the tank. So yeah, now granted, a third is a lot, but judging on how the first more than half went, that last third ain't gonna do much. You know, they're
I mean,
not gonna be
it
able
could
to-
go one of two ways. It could not do much, or it could be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
They're not going to be able to hold Kyiv, though.
No.
There's no way. There's 4 million people in the city of Kyiv. There's no way they're going to be able to.
4 million on a good day, like normal day. We'll say how many is left now, but still like a substantial amount of people. Like, and all these a lot of these numbers are based off of just general military like numbers. You know what Ukraine has as a standing army plus reserves, but then like trying to add in the citizens that are fighting, and you don't know exactly how many citizens stayed or how many left or whatever. It's like they're fighting a force that's much larger than what they thought.
Well, yeah, and originally, a lot of people stateside said, you know, they're fighting a lost cause essentially. I was listening to a Fox News reporter, and he interviewed a senator. I can't remember who he interviewed, but he said, unfortunately, Ukraine's fighting a lost cause battle right now. And then he talked to an ambassador for Ukraine maybe 30 minutes later, and he said, you know, we just talked to someone here stateside who said that Ukraine's fighting a lost cause battle right now. What would you say to that? And he kind of paused for probably like 5 seconds, and he was like, I would say if you call Ukraine a lost cause right now, you don't know Ukrainians. We're here and we're fighting. And that was like the end of the interview. It was like, fuck, dude. Like, I got goosebumps listening to that. Like, that little pause, and just the fact that he was like, how dare anybody say that we're a lost cause? You could just hear it in his voice. You know, I mean, it's just,
it's offensive to them.
I know, and as it should be.
And I'm offended for them. That's
for your
some
life, exactly.
stupid fucking Westerner, some senator that probably is, it just has no idea. Was
And
just
that
like,
was
yeah,
the-
it's for the lost cause. Like,
That was the same attitude that Putin had coming into this. He thought he would just roll in, it'd be a cakewalk. We have more supplies, we have more people. This should be open and shut. And Ukraine was like, wait a minute, bitch. You don't know who you're fucking with here. Like, you want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. You know, like, see you in the street. And it's a great showing of human power and resolve.
Oh,
yeah,
incredibly.
it is. And it's also, on a way lighter note, has just been a fountain of memes.
You know, I
It's
love a
been
good
great.
meme.
But like one of my favorite ones is like, you know, Russian like helicopter flying over Ukraine. And then it's a TikTok sound for those of you that are on TikTok where it's like, oh no, a pterodactyl. And then it's like a picture of a Ukrainian farmer with a javelin. And it's like, prepare to feel the force of 1,000 suns, monkey man. Like, just shit like that. That just cracks me up. But it's also like all still based in truth because it's like it's not all military. It's also like the citizens out there like fucking shooting shit down and stuff. It's been the memes have been pristine.
Oh my god, speaking of. Sorry, maybe we can end on this if you'd like.
Yeah, we're about up to an hour and a half, so.
Damn, we sure are.
Stop saying Ukraine crisis. There's no crisis. There's a bad neighbor.
Stop saying Ukraine. There's no crisis. There is bad neighbor. That's hilarious. All right, chat. Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up there. You guys have anything else for us before we officially sign off?
I think this was very informative. I think we covered...
I've definitely...
Yeah, we didn't like go into like great depth. We did a little bit of like our own stuff, but mainly it was just like, here's what's going on if you haven't been watching the news.
Last thing I'm going to say, because I wanted to say this tonight, because I don't get to say this. I think this is the first time maybe I've ever said this. I actually admire and applaud Biden for the way he's handled this situation.
I can concur with that. Y'all know I'm not the biggest fan of that dude, but he's actually done a good job of listening and just following the lead of the other NATO partners.
When he applied the first sanctions and he didn't kick Russia out of SWIFT, I was like, what are we doing? But the more you look at it, the more he needed NATO's support, and NATO wasn't completely on board with that yet. So he would have pissed off Putin and he would have pissed off NATO at the same time. Yeah. But then he got NATO on board, and then as of now, a lot of Russian banks are kicked out of SWIFT, which is great. SWIFT is basically the Venmo for buying natural gas and other business transactions. So basically Russia can't do business on a large scale anymore, which is fantastic. And again, first time I think in his presidency, I like to just try to call balls and strikes and not be leaning one way or another. First time in his presidency, I can say, I agree. I think I would have tried to have done the same thing that he's doing right now. So,
yeah,
Mr. Biden, you'll never listen to this, but I applaud you. I think you've done well on this one. You got this one right, buddy.
Yep. Metter said Slava Ukraini. I don't know who that is.
I think it's a staying like Viva, you know.
Oh, like
yeah,
glory to Ukraine or something like that.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, okay. I've read that as a name, and that's my bad.
Vamos Ukraine.
Glory to Ukraine.
All right, thanks, Jer. Slava Ukraini.
Slava Ukraini. Yeah. Vamos.
Vamos.
Vamos way. Vamos Ukraine. Let's go.
All right.
Come on.
Let's see how many goals
We're
we can
not
mash
gonna
it.
take
there
it.
it is.
No, we're
not gonna take it.
We're not gonna take it anymore. And there's our first strike on Twitch.
Just
kidding.
Terribly and off key. We're fine. All right. If you guys
we're not gonna take it.
If you guys don't have anything else for us, we're gonna get out of here. Let you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. We'll be back again next week, probably at our same time. I might have some more insight, some things to talk about. Throwbacks to our interview last week with the Medium, because I finally worked it out with her, and I have an appointment with her tomorrow, so that'll be
it's exciting.
Nice.
So yeah, we might talk about that next week. Very nice. Great success. So we might talk about that next week for a little bit. But anyway, other than that, you guys have a great night, great rest of your Sunday. Have a good week. Be safe. Be good to each other. And we will see you next week. Same place, same time, barring any changes.
Peace and love.
Love you guys.